Hello everyone, it's me, James Kuo. We're here for another drawing stream. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, especially you early arrivers. I see P Hospital in the chat. Today we're going to be drawing a picture of Ryoko from the animated series Tenchi Muyo, which has been streaming over on Spider Babby stream. I don't know if shoutouts work on this page, like those that video thing that shows the clips, so I might have to go to the drawing board before I can do a little shout. But that's definitely coming. I tried to put on my most Ryoko-esque clothing. Like I'm usually like a little more dressed up. It's good to dress down for this one. She has like a fun vibe. This was the most like kind of future space outfit, because she has that like red and black suit that she wears when she does space stuff. And just going through my dresser, this was kind of the closest thing I could find. Anyway, I think this is let's make this into a drawing stream and not a wardrobe fashion stream. So let's go over to the drawing board. Let's see. Here we go. So here's what we did last week, or not last week, a few days ago. I'm trying to get on a few times a week. We did this ice type Pokemon squad with Team Rocket James in the middle. So just showing that off again. Put that away. The other thing I can show you guys is, like, I try to make these streams good, so I could show you all these like practice Ryokos I drew, because I try to be serious about my stuff, so you know I don't want to disappoint anybody with my drawing. So there's like one, two, oh, there's like a half dozen plus on this page. There's like a couple of Ryokos there. Here's like a whole other page of like warm-up Ryokos. I kind of like this one a lot. These are mostly from reference. There's a few that are sort of made up. Another page of Ryoko warm-ups. These are just shapes. Like I do this kind of tube and cube kind of stacks just to get my pencil moving. Because like really, like when you do this like underdrawing construction stuff, it's really the same as this. So, I mean, if you can draw this kind of thing, you can draw this kind of thing. And sometimes I'll just like fill a whole page with things like this. It almost feels like you're down on the carpet with your nephews and you're just like stacking up wooden blocks and like trying to make imaginative structures. So I try to get into that mindset, so I can try to be like playful on the page. Anyway, I think we already saw that. Here's a whole page. I was just practicing drawing anime eyes. Here's a couple. There's an amazing thing when Ryoko would be in side view, like her mouth would do this crazy like opening like that. This is actually Haruko Harahara, who is doing like from FLCL doing a funny mouth. I don't know. Let's get out my paper. I have this. Here's a spare in case I need to start over. Okay, let's see. That's showing up. Let me just. Sometimes the graphite's a little bit faint. Oh yeah, we might do a Haruko stream sometime in the future. I did just draw a bunch of Harukos for a secret project. So I do have those shapes in my mind. I'm not even sure. Right now I'm just like kind of getting into the drawing. Like, am I gonna draw like head to toe or just like more like waist high? I'm wondering if I want to include Tenchi himself also. Like I could do, like a lot of the show is her flirting with Tenchi, and then Tenchi, I don't know, like not being that into it. I'm just like sketching out like some ideas. If you've seen the stream before, you know, like the first hour is usually trying to find what the drawing's even going to be. think it's not really cheating if I look at some of my warm-up sketches and maybe pull some ideas from there. Because there was one when I was just pointing at the construction drawing. Oh, am I frozen? Okay, my camera went away for a second. It's back. Whew, thank God. That was just temporary. Where did my brush go? It's right here. Hopefully that's the last one. I'll knock on my drawing board here. Like, I kind of like this a lot. Like, I was thinking, she wears so many different outfits, but I really like the one from her first appearance. It's sort of like, I'm not sure how to, I don't know all the names for colors. Like, it's sort of like pink and like a light seafoam green, maybe? So this is, I think, like when she kind of first appears and is like chasing Tenchi around on a rooftop. I'm trying to remember, like I did sit in on all of Spider Babby's anime streams, but there was like a lot of information and I'm not sure that I followed everything that was happening on the show. The point of like all those practice drawings is to sort of like get these shapes in mind so I don't have to like always look over at a reference. Like I kind of learned that her face is a little wide like this, and like the mouth is always like right up here next to the nose. Let's see. She has these like side swoops. It's always tough when like a rough drawing ends up looking better than a finished one. Let me work on this a little bit. Making sure I have all my streaming windows where they need to be. Okay. Let me see. I kind of want to, I'm thinking about, oh, Brad Junswick is in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. I'm trying to get this posture right. Like, I don't know if anyone has seen Gundam Wing, but there's like that very iconic pose in the end credits where Relena Peacecraft is sort of like sitting with like a very confrontational pose like at the camera. I've kind of like a key thing to get this Ryoko drawing is not just like getting the costume right and everything, but just getting like the attitude right. So I think like getting a pose that really shows us her character is going to be a goal here. Not sure about this. I don't know if people are keeping track of how many erases we've done. This is probably number 4, maybe? Or I've started all over? I remember during the chat, people were kind of surprised in maybe episode 3 or 4, where they take a little like van trip out to the country. and then all of a sudden Ryoko has a tail. I might do like a little kind of cat-like crouching pose. Here's the hand down here. Let's see. I kind of like what's happening here. I don't know if this is going to be too cat-like. And then let's see. She has... I think her kind of space bodysuit has like high heels at the end. And we'll put this... This could almost be like she's doing a nya here. Like if I were to do like that as more of a paw shape. This is kind of a nya. But I think her character is like a little sharper. So I think I'm going to do this more with like claws out. So I think this will get sort of the like sly aspect to her. Okay. I was just looking at her wiki, and the editors there maintain that it's not a tail that's like physically part of her, but is a like fashion accessory added onto her clothing. Although she also kind of manifests or like creates her clothing out of herself, so it might be like part of her anyway, indirectly or directly. So I think her top has sort of like a high collar, and then these two bands. Swoop. She always has these like side swoops that comes down her ear. Oh, hey Jared. I'm glad you could tune in even though you're at work. Might even do a little bit of a mouth like that. I don't know, that might be too much. I really love the style of nose that she has. This was a popular nose shape in anime of the 90s. This sort of like ski jump shape. Like the center line comes down her forehead, and there's like a little like skier here, and then could like jump right off of here. I'm wondering, even though I like this face pretty well, I don't know, maybe I won't mess with it. I was thinking of like turning it a little more to the side, but I think I'm going to keep this because I'm feeling pretty good about it. Okay, and so then let's see, if this hair is blowing this way, I assume this hair would also be blowing across, maybe coming out there. Okay, and then she has really incredible hair. So, and I was trying to figure out a good method for drawing it. So you draw like a really big like loop around there, and then sort of like a second like inner loop. And then you kind of go in between those two outlines with these like saw shapes. Like these inner points don't reach all the way down to her scalp. Like it would look strange if they came all the way down like that. But it's more like they meet like around here. And then I think they just go all the way like down her back like that. Okay, let's see. Gotta make sure that I have this outfit right. I know she favors like a big kind of a large shoulder, and then I think the sleeve would open like that, and this arm comes up, kind of the same thing over here. And then getting like a little anatomical here, like the elbow would be on the side, this gets a little wider and narrows again at the wrist. I like this, you know, sometimes I miss my proportions because I'm sitting like right on top of here, but when I like hold it back a little bit, I'm kind of feeling like this head might be too big for this body. Also, as big as this shoulder is, I do want to pull this back a little bit. Just because this one's closer, so I want that to be like a little bigger. Okay, so I did want to like shrink this down some. It'll give me the opportunity maybe to try a new expression. So what I need to not do is like when I erase to just draw the same thing on top of it again. So my goal is to just make this smaller. That's a little too small. But this time let's point her over this way. And that way she could still be looking at us, but she's kind of, or maybe like looking over here. Ears come out. I don't know, maybe what I had better, what I had before was better. Let me see. I think once I add the hair, it starts to look right again. Yeah, I think that's looking okay. Okay, I just gotta check my reference to make sure that the Ryoko I'm drawing looks something like the Ryoko you may have seen on the hit anime series Tenchi Muyo. Okay, let me see. Yeah, that's looking right. There is. Trying to see, because a lot of these screen grabs, when I look her up on like Google Image, it's like dialogue scenes, but I can't see what's happening foot-wise. Me. Okay, I found it. So let me see. I'll show you guys the outfit that I'm doing. Okay, where is my window capture? I hope it's okay to watch me like fumbling with clicking through windows for a second. There she is. Okay. Here we go. So this is the outfit that I'm looking for. So it looks like there are, those are the big sleeves, and then like a small belt. Okay, we'll get it to work. Let's put that away for now. I think I just needed to answer my footwear question before I could do the bottom half of this drawing, but it appears like there's little ankle boots with no laces. Not really too tall of a heel. Okay, so I can adjust this. And it looks like the sleeve goes all the way pretty high up on the wrist, and then it's like gathered with a string. I'm going to move this knee up a little higher, perhaps? Let's see. Let's work this out. Like, her rib cage would be here. Her spine comes down. So there's her pelvis. Leg comes up, leg goes down. Heel touches the ground here. Here. And then the toe comes off of that, right? I think what I had better was, no, I think what I had before was better. Let me just open this more like that. You know what? I feel like I'm missing an opportunity in this drawing, even though I liked how that arm looked. Let's put in, because there's all this bottom half of the image which shows the rest of the crouching pose, but I think doesn't really further the drama. Why don't we already have this hand here right in the center? Why don't we put Tenchi down here? This is what Tenchi looks like. I'll have to look that up too. Yeah, I think this is going to be good. Rather than just someone standing by themselves in a picture, having like two characters interacting will like immediately add more like interest. So let's just, you know, right away, let's relate them. Let's just point the eyes downward. I need to find like a good reference for Tenchi. Let's see, here we go. I mean, mostly he's just like, what I remember from the show was him being kind of shirtless with jeans. Tenchi, what's... Okay, the characters. So if I look up Tenchi Masaki, that's his last name. When I looked up Tenchi Muyo, it was just like showing everybody. But this way, I'll get better results. Okay. It does have like such a weird round head. Let's work it out. And I could even like, I know Ryoko has the ability to like float and like phase through things. So maybe we could do something where Tenchi was chilling in the hot springs. I feel like half the show happens in the bath. And then Ryoko's sort of like floating out of the wall and just like getting friendly. See, her other hand could be under her chin like this. And then there's like water splashing out of here. I feel like this is gonna immediately like make this a more interesting picture. But I need to get some kind of resemblance to Tenchi. I'm just from like years of drawing, I'm immediately drawing an egg shape for a head, but it's got to be like a pretty solid sphere for this guy. Okay. Oh, and he should be like looking up. And then like kind of blushing severely. I feel like these eyes don't look like shocked or surprised enough. Let's just open these up a little more. Oh, and then I think sometimes the key to drawing like shock is just like when you can see the whole iris and then like with whites all the way around it. So he's just like a little sweaty. And then we'll probably see his hands like reaching up out of the bath, just sort of as a reflex reaction to her appearing above his head. And I feel like his torso is kind of particular, like he's fairly wide in the ribcage, and when it gets down to the waist, it like really tapers in quickly. Got to make sure to draw his rat tail. And then he also has that like pointy little nose. But this doesn't quite look like him yet. I haven't like found the character. What is standing between me and drawing a picture of Tenchi? I think the eyes could be a little bit farther apart. Is that it? Whoa. I mean, also, the other way to draw a surprise would just be like that. And I think from the context, we'll know who this is. I'm going to leave that for now because there's more in this picture I need to work on. And I feel like with surprise, I could go even bigger with the mouth. Like you can almost like take up the whole bottom half of the head. I don't know about that. Maybe the whole problem is just, let's see, if she's looking this way, let's make him facing this way just for like a little kind of zigzagging direction pointing in this composition. So, and then let's tilt his head this way. There's the mouth. Maybe he's just like squinching his eyes like that. I can't quite find it, but I could work on the rest of this. Put this hand here so it doesn't interfere. Trying to figure out, because at first I was going to put this here, like overlapping this elbow, which is good. I think because he's in front. I think I'll do that. Because if I put it down here, it looks like I'm trying to avoid this shape. And if like everything is sort of near each other but not overlapping, like puzzle pieces, it can kind of flatten out too much. Let's see. But then I got to be careful to not make this hand and this hand in exactly the same position. So let's point this finger up. Okay, I think this is coming together. And I can build off of that success. His collarbones are here. I mean, I got to keep this pretty simplified. I shouldn't get too anatomical with this anime character. Let's try. God, I never. He seems like such a simple character. Oh, I see. Maybe I need to make his mouth like smaller and higher up. Let's see if I can bring back my window capture. This is what I'm looking at. Yeah, I think I was hewing too close to like human proportions. I just need to like a person like myself has their features all over their face. His are sort of like all collected in a little circle like this. So let's try this again. And maybe I don't know, I kind of feel like it's almost possible I could have him facing down like that, which would maybe be cheating a little bit, but also it would give more of the focus back to Ryoko, who is kind of a better character anyway. Let's see. Let's think. So her legs are here. Maybe she could be like sitting on top of his shoulders like that. Is that too spicy for this drawing stream? Thinking about it. I don't know if this quite works. Because I would need to like move her head like up here to make that work. Yeah, I think that's not going to happen unless I juggle a few elements, which I might. Okay, so Jared has a question. When learning, is it okay to go along with drawing tutorials like step-by-step things? I mean, absolutely yes. Like you can kind of see behind me, like this whole, like there's like a manga shelf, but like this part over here by the purple, like those are all like how to draw books. Let me go over to the chat. I'm trying to answer Jared's question. Like back over here, like this is all like reference books, like how to draw figures, guides to composition and design, doing architecture, doing vehicles. So yeah, I mean, I have all kinds of, wait, let's go back to the drawing board. Like I have all kinds of stuff like this, and just when I'm trying to up my skills, I'll just pick up a book like this and do all the exercises from cover to cover, and then you can draw a little better. I mean, things that I do as exercises, I probably wouldn't post or present like and say like this is my art. But I mean, I didn't start from nowhere. Like I have influences, I have teachers, I have, I've taken lots of lessons. So yeah, I do recommend finding like how to draw books and just really going for it. Like this one's really nice. It's not really about drawing people. It's more about drawing like environments and yeah, like how perspective works. But this one has been really, really great for me to look at. Yeah, do lessons. I mean, I know this drawing stream hasn't exactly been like drawing lessons. It's more just like me drawing my stuff and saying why. So I don't know how, if like watching my stream has been helpful, but I'm glad that you're like doing more drawing. Oh, P Hospital wants to see the environments book called. It's called Space Drawing Perspective by Dongho Kim. It's Super Ang. Try not to cover that up. I don't know if you saw that, P Hospital, but I'll bring it back out again if you need it. Or I could type it into the chat, perhaps. There's Tenchi. But you know what? This is sort of like, this is like a less funny, like rising out of the water. I almost want it to be like a spit take or something. Like that would really drive home like a comedic surprise. Also, I think it's going to help me to, because I was really kind of in love with this hand that I had drawn of Ryoko, and it was kind of constricting where I could draw Tenchi, but I think if I get, since he's in front, I should draw him first. And he's going to look like a little cross-eyed to drive home the awkwardness. That looks like Tenchi. Okay. And then he has like little eyelashes. Man, what's happening with that mouth? And I gotta bring down this chin too. How do I draw spitting? Like, people say to draw from life, but I so rarely see people spitting water out. Like, there's sort of like a cartoon spitting mouth like that. I don't know if that's gonna work for this. That mouth is not right. I think to look like the character, I need to keep that pretty small and like keep the features close together. Oh, Galuigi's on the train. Hope you have a good ride back. I started a little earlier than usual. Like, I like to do a 5 to 8, but I'm doing a 4:30-ish to 7:30 just because I have a dinner date that I don't want to miss. Okay, and then she's sort of like drumming her fingers on top of his head again. Does she have a little fang? I'm gonna draw one. Let's see, we're 40 minutes into the stream. I think we're making pretty good progress. This picture is like coming together pretty well. We had like 4 or 5 kind of trial drawings at the start, but I think I'm definitely going to do this one. I feel like I need to resolve this. Like, this arm and this arm are totally different sizes. Let's figure this out. So if her shoulder's here, wrist is here. Also, let's just compare it to Tenchi's arm. So yeah, I think it would be about here. Her shoulder's here, armpit, her chest, and then big poofy sleeves. Okay. I think I just need to figure out this elbow position. Like, if you're daintily putting your hand on your chin, I feel like you're more likely to have your elbow in towards your body, just from trying the pose out myself. So yeah, that looks a little better. So this shoulder's here. Still not super happy with this Tenchi face, but I'll find it. That's a little better. Oh, you're heading out for dinner also. Yeah, I'm glad you could drop by, or at least watch a little bit on the train. I should give Gal like a little shout. I did just, there is an exciting project coming up. Let's see, SO.
That's pretty respectable, Haltron. I gotta say, I like that a lot. Okay, so Bibble from Barbie movies.
Anyway, great clip. I think that was from the rating waifus stream, kind of a precursor to the weddings. Anyway, I'm excited that I think I can say to people here that I've signed up for the, what is it called? The Free and the Fabulous? Live table reading? Yeah, The Free and the Fabulous, a series made by Gal and Yikes. and I've volunteered to play the part of Damon. That's on March 1st, so get that on your calendars. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. I might almost be ready for inking. There's all this empty space up here that I'm not quite sure what to do with. Let me see. I'm going to... You know what? I feel like I could start inking this. Like, I was thinking about refining my pencils, but really I should... I understand what's happening here, and I should just go in and pin this down. So here's the inking title. Okay, so let's see. I've got my G pen ready. See, I think at this point I might need... I've been doing this without my specs so far. Let me put these back on. Okay. And then let me zoom in my webcam. Here we go. We're gonna jump in like 200. Yeah, about 250%. Okay. Let me think about how to get into this. I think some like easy shapes are gonna be this like splashing water. And a lot of the time it's like good for me to do more kind of chaotic natural shapes that are on here. Like it would be tough to draw these blobs of water incorrectly. Like I do have to swing these lines around in sort of ellipse shapes just to show like where the surface of the water is. Other than that, I do want these to be pretty loose. Okay. And also, I'm wondering, I might be able to accomplish this with... I do plan on coloring this, so since it is like a hot spring, I do need to show that there's steam coming up. And I could do that with like trails, like putting two lines kind of close together like that. But I might try to do that with white paint later, which will be more steam-like anyhow. Gonna show a little bit more of the surface of the water. Here's the edge of the bath. Okay. So I feel pretty good about this pen. So let's see. And then she has her long like sideburn that comes down. Can have the other one floating the other way. Since a lot of the sort of movement is like upward, like from Tenchi sort of bursting out of the bath, so it's okay that these like sideburns are both kind of flopping upwards. See, she has these sort of hair tendrils that come down on either side of her hairline. Here's that little ski jump nose. Make that a little heavier. Here's like the most fun thing of all, which is just drawing like anime eyes. It's like the lid. And you can do like a couple lashes out on that side. Should make this top line like a little heavier. Okay. Okay, let's... Before I draw the mouth and these eyes, I just want to get this jawline in. Okay. Little fangs. And then sometimes on the bottom, like I might not complete this line. Like the whole pencil line is continuous, but I can suggest it with like a broken ink line, which will give it like a softer edge. And we want like especially like the lip area to appear soft. So highlight in the eye. Complete that shape. And then kind of shade the top half of that eye. You know, maybe I should have left that into color, but it's okay. A little bit of blush on the cheeks. We've basically got her face done. Pretty happy with that. Draw some elegant fingers. I think I'm not going to put in fingernails because sometimes putting too much anatomical detail can make it look a little grotesque, and we just want elegance in this case. So I do have to get in this great hair. Now that I'm looking at this, I feel like this hair is like a little bit understated, that it should go like a lot bigger, like it should go all the way out here. I don't want to try to do that straight to ink. I'm gonna get my pencil back out and show myself where it should go. I'm gonna erase this carefully to not stray into any of the ink lines I just made. But let's bring that out further. Really more like that. And then at a certain point, it turns the other way. Okay, that's good enough. I can work with that. Whew. Here we go. So I'm kind of using even, there's like another line that I had made here, to like when I go across to kind of put a kink in. Okay. I feel like I need to draw this sleeve in before I do the rest of this hair because it has to go behind. Bring the collar around. I think I should draw this hand on top of Tenchi. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Let's see, what does our guy's hair look like? Okay, so it's sort of like he has short bangs like this, and then it sort of goes out in small spikes across the top. That's sort of like, not super thick, but definitely substantial eyebrows. I'm kind of purposefully making these lines on his eyes like a little bit wobbly, just to help with the expression of like kind of surprise and discomfort. And also kind of making these eyes like a little bit askew. Like these line up the same way, but these are kind of at different angles. His mouth might be too big. I might try to do something more like that. That seems more in character. Something about that chin line is bothering me. Let me just work on that a little bit. Okay. And then his rat tail comes out. All right, so let's see. Let's bring her elbow down. Oh wait, I feel like I should finish what I was working on up here before getting too absorbed in that other part of the picture. So let's just finish these hair spikes. And then, okay, so her large poofy sleeve. There's like an inner and an outer sleeve, and then this one sort of goes back into this other side. I think I had drawn, here's Tenchi's thumb. I feel like this one's moving ahead pretty quickly. I feel like I'm trying to capture something about like the style of the hands from that show, which I really enjoyed looking at all of. Sort of very big, very expressive. And I feel like they would, I don't know, something about the proportions of like the fingertips are like kind of bigger than where they start, which I think, you know, they wouldn't be in real life, but a lot of drawing is like making the internal world exterior. So if you can like make this more expressive, then I think you're doing well. Here we go. And while I'm drawing hands, I'll just go over and work on this other one. Fingertip. Oof. Sometimes when I draw like knuckles and hands, you don't always have to connect these lines. Like you can draw like this dark part of the hand here, and then sort of imply that part of the hand. And then here's the butt of the palm. Okay. You know, I feel like this expression is already too subdued. So I think I might already sort of like adjust this before I go to the next stage. This should be dry enough for me to erase. But I should have gone with, here we go. I think I should have gone with like the wider mouth and maybe try to go like a little more, like I need to get these eyes like a little wider apart. Right now that's like a little scary looking. Let's fix that too. Okay. But the general head shape and like eye outline is fine. We just need to tweak the expression. Okay. So let's see. We draw more of this water kind of splooshing out. It's going to be like running off of him as he like rises out of the water. Okay, let's get the collarbone in. I'm gonna add like a little bit of this bit of the neck just to show some tension. I don't want to draw like every like ligament and tendon here because it'll just look nasty. But like a little suggestion that there's some pull right there, I think will push us where we want to be. So let's try. I'm kind of thinking I want his eyes to be like, that might look too crazy. Well, that's definitely a bigger expression than I had before. Oh my god. We'll see. We'll see. Sometimes it takes like a few tries, but that's where we are right now. I just need to finish the rest of our boy. Rib cage is here, and his waist goes in. Draw some of this water rippling up. There's his armpit. All right. I feel like I want to bring these in a little bit. So let's see. She has. Let's work on this Ryoko a little bit more. Let's see, this part of the sleeve comes down. There's like a seam down the center of the underlayer beneath. I'm not sure about all the names of different fashions. I feel like I like where this sleeve is. This one I need to like floof out a little more. Yeah, instead of shrinking that one down, let's just make this side bigger. So that balances pretty well now. I feel like we're almost done inking, and we're only like an hour 7 in. Like, I think a lot of the rest of this I could accomplish with ink. No, with paint, sorry. We're doing ink right now. So let's see. So then her waist is back here. I feel like this was a thing that I could have resolved at the pencil stage. Like if she's sitting here, it wouldn't really make sense for her to be sitting cross-legged. Because there wouldn't be, I think, physically room for her to do that. I feel like she's just like phasing up through here. Let's see. Here's like more water splash. So when I draw her coming down, this is just sort of going to like fade into the bottom part of this composition. Okay. I feel like we're almost... Man, is this stream going to be done in record time? Right, Brad, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, I think I might move on to color in a second here. So let's zoom this back out. We can see the whole image. Kind of what we've got so far. And once these pencils are gone, I can really see if anything's missing that I need to add to here. Oh, thanks, Be Hospital. I think this expression is much better than the one I started with. Like if you're surprised and confused, you could do that from like a scale of 1 to 10. This would be like I don't know, maybe like a 7. But like the one that I had before was more like a 2. This just takes a little while to remove all the graphite that we just put down. But it's tougher to erase like once you start painting. Okay, I think that's everything. So I see a couple spots that need like a little bit of correction before I can move forward. I was thinking pretty fast, so I did smudge a little bit, which is fine. Okay, let's see. So we're putting away the ink now, and we're moving on to the next phase, which is color. Here we are. I got my tray of paints, got a couple of jars of water ready. I feel like I should get like a blue wash and like work on some of this water. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. So this is the perfect brush for that. See, or yeah, I think doing like a little bit of blue on a lot of places is going to be good. And just like get some of these blobs. I should do this like very quickly. And the other task while I have the cool colors out is I should put in all the shadows. So I'm just mixing up this like purple and magenta. I think this like works especially well, especially for like an outside scene where there's like a strong light source from the sun, and then there's like reflected light from the sky. So there's like a clear like downcast. Oh, I need to correct this line because I had drawn that sleeve a little too small. And I always like to bump up the saturation when I do this. So let me just bump that up a little bit. Okay. Let's see. And put like a little shadow under each like frond of hair. Frond seems like a good word because this does seem very like palm tree like. Okay, a little shadow there. All right, so I'm going to do some light that's coming downward, like from the direct source above. I'm mixing like a little bit of this titanium white and this lemon yellow. Okay, and I'm going to put this like on top of some of these shapes. I think it also helps, like even though Ryoko's hair and like Tenchi's like body and her sleeves are all different colors, I think working, kind of like adding colors that work throughout will like tie the picture together a little better. So things aren't too separate. Okay. I feel like now that some of the shadows and highlights are in here, I could add more of the natural colors that are on there. So let me put in some of the skin tones. And it's okay if, like the skin tone that I'm mixing, I'm definitely adding some red in because he's supposed to look fairly embarrassed here. So I am making him like a little bit red in the face. Also like the inside of this mouth, like that. Also like turning red from being in the bath. I feel like that would show itself in different parts where you're, I don't know, I feel like when you get flushed, like certain parts of your skin like turn redder than others because of, I don't know, maybe, is it where the capillaries are? And a lot of this, I'm kind of putting the colors around the edges and then like leaving the center a little bit lighter. And it's a sort of lighting that you see, that you might see in like a flash photo. Rather than filling it all in solidly. Okay. See, I think she's going to be a little bit lighter. So some of this pink color, a little bit of this yellow, definitely more diluted. Let's like start on these ears. Oh yeah, I feel like, oops, I just colored like flesh tone inside the eye there. And she's missing an eyebrow, so I do need to put another line in there. It's definitely good to have a multi-stage drawing process because then you can like notice parts that are missing, like say someone's entire eyebrow. I'm kind of just like putting this color where like some of the shadows would be, and then like leaving the other parts open. And I can make like a little more red inside her mouth, like a little red on the cheeks. Okay. Let's see, so a lot of the flesh tone is done. I should get in her... I feel like if I put in his dark hair, then Tenchi will be pretty much sorted. So that's going to be this Payne's gray, and then I'll mix in like a little bit of orange or brown. Should probably go a little bit darker than that, so I'll take some more pigment directly off of the tray. Okay. So a lot of the rest of this, I'm gonna have to do, I think I'll just like start with her hair, work on her outfit, add like a little bit more water, try to figure out like a kind of a steamy effect to get up here. I'll probably like wet this area of the paper and like get some like blue in there and like let that sort of spread out on its own. Let me just check. Her hair is very like light blue, not quite turquoise-ish. Okay, yeah. Okay, and then the inside part of the dress is pink, and then the sleeves are kind of a richer turquoise. Great, okay. Also, she has cool earrings, so I need to add that in. Yeah, I feel like I missed a couple of lines that need to be in here. So she does have earrings. Put the other one right there. Eyebrow on the side. Good. So her hair So I feel like I should do this in a couple stages. Let me get out my cool color brush. I think I'm pretty much going to use this cerulean and like dilute it pretty far. I'm like avoiding those other parts that I had painted in before. And when I make these lines, I'm trying to like be conscious of the way hair sort of like wraps around a head. Like I'm pulling it in the direction that it would leave the scalp and project outward. So right now there's just kind of like a light blue tint over the whole hair area. So now it almost barely shows up on the screen. I can see it in front of me, so I feel like I could darken that even a little bit more. But I'm going to use more of this cerulean and then sort of, I didn't draw any lines back here, but I can do this with paint. Like make these colors like a little more intense on the darker parts. Like the underneath of these. This piece that is like coming a little bit closer to us. Just because like the more intense color will bring it like closer to the viewer here. I'm trying to like leave the lighter parts towards the top. Let's see. And then I feel like this part that comes towards the front should be like a little bit darker. Now, I feel like I just wet my brush and I'm adding like a lot more like dampness to this area just to like blend these a little better, because when I was doing those brush strokes, it was making like a lot of new lines that I think I was not happy with. Okay. Oh, looks like we have a party of raiders. Oh, Zoetrope, thank you for the raid. I hope you had a fun stream. What was everybody doing over there? Let me give a little shout out to Zoe.
Oh, Viola. Ooh, ooh, but you know I'm yours. Ooh, ooh, and you know you're mine. Ooh, ooh.
Oh, I want to hear at the end of the line, but the clip cuts off right there. Really lovely cover of the Weezer song. Yeah, we're just drawing Ryoko and Tenchi from Tenchi Muyo. We've been watching that over on Spider Babby's Anime Club. Oh, and I see Tough Ghost in the chat. Nice to see you. Let's see. So I think that I was just finished with her hair, so let's just move our way downward. Like the inner part of her sleeve, like this arm part, it's almost the same color as this, but like I need to add It's definitely like brighter. I can almost go directly off of this pigment. Let me see if I can do that right. I think it'll help if I... Wow, that is very intense color. I'm kind of into it. Like, I feel like I've heard people say they have trouble with watercolors, especially with like getting vivid enough shades to appear. Or like things are just like too diluted. But I think I've got this working for me right now. Oh, we have a first-time chat from Day So 9. Hi there. Thanks for joining. I hope you're enjoying this little Ryoko painting that we're working on. I was trying to like, when I was moving the brush across, like be conscious of like the shape of this sleeve, and then like leave gaps to like imply that there are like wrinkles in this cloth. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, here's Tenchi just always kind of like shocked at like Ryoko's advances. Does anybody know why Tenchi always rebuffs the affections of his space admirers who live with him? Is he just really uptight? Oh, it's because he's a minor. Okay. That's fair. All right, so I need to... Her sleeves are also blue, so let's just continue this. The way that I'm adding so much texture like this, it almost looks like these are... like this material is like taffeta. If that's... I think that's what I mean. Okay, let's see. Like, which way does this arm go? It's almost vertical, so I shouldn't... I was trying to figure out how to wrap these lines around this form. I think it's just like that. Like a very mild ellipse. Okay. I think I need a little more coverage than that. That's like too much white space. Okay. Oh, I should get in... I need to get her earrings in, and those are kind of like bright magenta. So I need like a piece of paper to get rid of some of the water on this brush. So I think since we have a couple new people with the raid, I just wanted to show you guys like a lot of my prep work. Like this morning before stream, I knew I wanted to draw Ryoko, so I drew all these practice Ryokos. And I drew all these practice Ryokos. Because, you know, I'm serious about my stuff, and I want the stream to be a good experience for you guys. Like, I never want to jump on here cold and then just, like, totally bomb the set. There's, like, probably a good 24 Ryokos. I like this one a lot. That's, like, a nice action pose there. Anyway. So I'm just trying to build confidence with you guys, with me as a host. I take this seriously. So I need to put sort of like a salmon pink in this part. It is kind of tough to get a good pink out of these paints that I have, or I just need more practice figuring it out. So I need a color that's different enough from skin tone. I wonder if I just add like a little touch of blue. I think that's probably closer to what I want. That, I don't know, that sort of like dirties the color a little bit. Like adding sort of a contrasting color. Did I get the shirt from Dan Flashes? Let's look at the shirt. This is not a Dan Flashes shirt. Trying to figure out how much of this I can show. It is from an artist here in town. This town being Providence, and it is like, started out as a black shirt and then was like bleach stenciled, and I think this says silent on there. Yeah, I think I wanted to wear something a little bit Ryoko core, and I know she has so many great outfits. I was thinking of the one where she has the like red and black jumpsuit that she kind of wears for space stuff. I don't know. That's not the color I want at all. That's very kind of dingy. For as much time as we spent mixing that, I just pulled that right off the page. Maybe I'll just mix this and this together. Oh, and you know what? I should be using some titanium white is what I need. Why was I adding cerulean blue when I can add titanium white? Here we go. Okay. So I feel like a lot of the image is done. I need to paint in a lot of water. I need to paint in a lot of steam. Do that. Yeah, I just went with the outfit from her first appearance. Okay, so let's see. I need my cool color brush. And we're going to paint in this hot spring. Let me just like take a little look at my references. Just to see how, on the show, how do they handle the way the water looks. There's definitely like a lot of green in here. It also depends on if it's a day or night scene. But the way that I did this lighting, I've kind of established this as a daytime scene. Oh, and a cool thing that they do is when the characters are above water, they do have black outlines, but it looks like the paint department kind of continues the figure underneath. But since it's like refracted by the water surface, it so here's more of Tenchi underneath, but it kind of gets like less defined as it gets further underwater. And I can just like put a few notes of this into a lot of these splashes, just because of how the light would bounce around and scatter under the surface. And these are going to like reflect the central characters. Like, there we go. So it would make sense to just have like a little touch of this flesh tone all around here. Oh, Johnson, you like that expression? Because it was a little bit of a struggle to find it. We drew like a half dozen different faces before we landed there. But I think the eyes pointing two different directions really gets the point across of shock. Okay. Let's see, where's my cool color brush? I always keep like a warm and a cool brush so they don't muddy up each other. Let's see. I am going to add like a little bit of this green and this blue together. That looks about right. And I think I'm going to sort of like pull this across, trying to think about like if Tenchi's in the middle, like the way it would ripple out in rings. So I'm sort of like moving my brush in those rings. So then naturally there's going to be like a little white gap in between them, which will be sort of like where the top of the ripple is. I think it would catch light in a way that would kind of turn it white. That's my thought anyway. I feel like I should get more pigment on here. Okay. Keep this pretty loose. Yeah, I feel like I like this greenish blue a lot for this hot spring water. I'm trying to be like pretty haphazard with these strokes even, just because Tenchi's like thrashing about, and so the water would be like all churned up, right? Make sure that I get some on here. And then what happens? I think like I could just paint, like I have all this white area up here, and I could just paint in, it looks like their spring is behind like a forest and then like some mountains back here. I'm not sure. I'll put that in lightly. Okay, so let me just continue with this, and then I'll sort of like fade into like some mountains across here. I'm just kind of like, instead of using a pencil, I'm just like making very light lines with my watercolor brush. Let me just rotate my palette to grab some of these greens. I'm gonna mix in some of the blue that I just had. And I'm kind of doing these lines which are kind of suggesting the topography, but I'm doing it strategically because they're sort of like pointing down towards the center of the composition. Like whenever you have like natural features like that, like hill topography or clouds or something, you can definitely use those shapes to your advantage to help like divide up the composition, direct the eye where you want it to go. Okay. Trying to figure out how high I want these to go. And then I might need to go back to a sky blue up here. So yeah, I think for this top part, it's okay that a lot of this is pretty indistinct because there would be steam coming off of this bath, right? So things that are in the background would not be too sharp. So right now, I'm just, there's not even any pigment on here. I'm just getting water on this open part. And same for this side. Oops. I don't want it to get into her hair right now. But yeah, I'm just like wetting the paper because I'm going to try to create a little sky. Okay, so gonna go back to this tray. Try to pick up like a little bit of this blue color. And we're gonna like kind of get this in here and let it mostly do what it wants. And that'll sort of suggest like misty clouds above some mountains, you know, aided by, you know, the steam of the hot spring. But it's definitely a lot better to, you know, activate or address this part of the picture rather than just leaving it as a white void. Also, there are parts here, like down the center of them, which is left white, like the white from the paper, and so those will come forward more if there's not like big white space around them. So that will also be another way to focus us where we want to be in the picture. Okay. Okay, I think I can do like a little bit more. Like I did kind of these hills and broad strokes, but I could like add, you know, a little bit of this stuff just to suggest that there's far away like trees. And since this is all pretty wet, those are going to have a little bit of spread as they settle into the paper. That might be like a little too dark. Okay. But yeah, that's too much. My brush was like a little too loaded there. Okay. But I think like going over this like a second time, make it look a little more on purpose, even though it is like lots of kind of random mark making over some like broad strokes. And guys, I mean, I'm trying to think. We might be wrapping this one up. We're not even at the 2-hour mark. I'm trying to make this consistent across both sides. Like I wasn't able to do it continuously because Ryoko's in the middle, so I sort of had to like continue these lines on either side. But I think as I go back and forth, it'll look more consistent together. But largely, I think this might be it. I could put like more of that peach color here. This sort of like dress color that she's wearing. Because that would be there. And then I'm going to sort of like wet this brush again. Like sort of similar to the way these clouds are. I do want to like kind of wet this area a little bit. Here we go. Just to show like a little bit of kind of Ryoko emerging from back here. Okay. So this still needs to dry. This is looking pretty all right. I think I see a couple spots that I should get with my highlighter, or not highlighter, sorry, my correction fluid. Like I can go back over these and add like little highlights. I'm gonna add like sort of like sparkles around her eyes. Oh, does anybody know what color Ryoko's eyes are? Should go look it up in my reference. Also, I need to do these earrings, which are sort of like a bright magenta. I can pretty much just take this color right off the tray. And go right in there, right in there. So, Ryoko's eyes are, what are they? Kind of yellow, kind of green? Kind of hazel? A lot of these reference I'm looking at are sort of like comedy takes, so they turn into like little black dots. Okay, they're sort of like golden. So we'll kind of pick up from over here. How's that looking? It's a little bit too dark, so I'm going to pull that back up a little bit. Okay. Should also add like a little bit of eye color to Tenchi. I'll just put a little bit of burnt umber around here. So I think the thing that's left to do is kind of go over it with whiteout, and I'm gonna like just break up some of these lines. I'm gonna add like a little twinkle into Ryoko's eye. I'm gonna give Tenchi a row of teeth. Yeah, I think that's much better than just the wide open pink mouth. Okay. Just gonna add like some highlights onto her hair. It's like picking up some light. I think I did pretty well here, like leaving these wrinkles in, so I don't need a lot there. Just seeing if there's anything else. I should color in this rat tail. And then I think we might be done. So I should start looking for a raid. Let me just get a little bit of hair color in here. Put a little bit of that into the top of his head too. Okay, I think I'm going to sign this. Probably right down here. So I think let's go back over to chat. So thank you guys for watching the stream. Here's how Ryoko and Tenchi turned out. That looks a little dark, but that's how my webcam is. So I think we're going to go over and raid Lita, one of my favorite art streamers, 426T. Hitting the raid button. So I think that's going to happen in about 10 seconds. I hope you guys will come back and watch again. I won't be able to stream until probably next week, but I'll be back on again. We'll have a good time, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
What? ちょっと待ってください。あばばばば。Thank you very much for read. ジェームズさん、ありがとうございます。Welcome readers. Hello, how are you? How was your stream? Thank you very much for read.